And I remember sitting in a room where we were sharing at some point with our crew group that came from you and I, and they were asking, anyone want to share what God's been doing? And I remember I started to share, and I shared the story I just shared with you about my upbringing, my parents' divorce, the Lord taking away my enjoyment of these things. And I just started crying. And I said, if the Lord had not done all of those things, I wouldn't have been here. Mm. I wouldn't have come to you and I wouldn't have got connected with you. I wouldn't be at this conference, and I wouldn't have known about Jesus the way that I've just come to understand him. And so I suddenly realized, this is the most important thing in the world. And the flesh doesn't die easy. So I remember...
Say that again.
I remember this was so clear to me at that conference. There was one evening we went to a prayer meeting, and all of us got down on our knees, and we were praying, and we were so intent. It was so sincere and real. I'd never experienced anything like it. We were just pouring out our hearts to God. And when we looked up, this prayer meeting was probably 8:00 or 9:00. When we looked up, the whole room was empty, and it was near midnight. We'd been there for hours just praying, the most sincere and spiritual thing I'd ever experienced. And the next night we went back to the prayer meeting, and we were all on our knees, and everybody had left. And I remember someone walking by and saying, "Wow, are they still praying?" And pride just, look at how spiritual we are. And I don't know the sincerity of the other guys in that circle, but for me it was, I've got to keep praying. We've got to keep praying for hours to impress people. And it was that same mixture of a sincerity that I really wanted to glorify God and know him, and I really wanted to glorify Eric and make him look good.
And that's the nature of spiritual warfare. We, in our sort of Christian culture, you hear spiritual warfare and you think weird stories of demons and deliverance and people vomiting weird things into a bag. And spiritual warfare lives where we live every day. Mm-hmm. It's in those little moments of life. There is a war being fought on the turf of your heart. Mm-hmm. It's for control of your soul. Mm-hmm. And that lives most powerfully where you live. Mm-hmm. And where you live is in those little mundane moments. Mm-hmm. Where, just think how small this moment is. It's a person walking by while you're praying. In the scope of a 70, 80-year life, that's just a flash of a moment. Mm-hmm. But there's a war in that little teeny moment. That's how small it gets. Mm-hmm. And it's the spiritual war is not just a battle in big, grand moments of temptation, mm-hmm. because we don't actually experience those very often. Yeah. We do, mm-hmm. but in all these little moments, mm-hmm. where will I give way to impatience because somebody is making me wait? Mm-hmm. Will I return a nasty comment for a nasty comment that's been given me? Mm-hmm. Will I yell at my kids now because they are so audacious as to need parenting? Will I flash my gospel knowledge in front of people just because I want them to think something of mm-hmm. me? That's where this stuff lives every day.